Hi, I'm Mr. Hutchings, and this is Mr. Hutchings History. And today I'm going to bring you a overview of Unit 2 for World History, Networks of Exchange from 1200 to 1450. Between 1200 and 1450, the world didn't feel like separate regions anymore. It felt like a web: silk roads over mountains, caravans across the Sahara, and ships riding monsoon winds stitched Afro-Eurasia together. These routes carried silk, spices, and gold, but also ideas, technologies, religions, crops, and sometimes diseases. Empires made travel safer. New banking and credit made distance manageable. And even people who never left their village felt the ripple effects in their diets, their jobs, and their beliefs. Let's examine why trade grew. There were powerful empires. The Mongol Empire unified a vast belt of Eurasia. Bandits feared Mongol patrols. Merchants thrived in that security. In West Africa, Mali connected rich gold fields to Mediterranean markets. On the East African coast, city states like Kilwa and Mombasa plugged African ivory and gold into Indian Ocean trade. Stable rulers meant predictable rules and predictable profit. There were new commercial practices. Letters of credit, banking houses, and reliable record keeping let merchants move value without moving metal. Think of it as a medieval operating system for international finance. Paper promises, traveling faster and safer than coin. Demand for luxury increased. Elites from Cairo to Hangzhou craved Chinese porcelain, South Asian spices, and West African gold. Their tastes pushed traders farther and convinced rulers to guard and tax the routes that fed this appetite. Let's examine consequences of trade in new trading cities. Samarkand, at a Silk Road's crossroads, became a cultural kaleidoscope. Caravansary for rest, markets for exchange, and madrasas for learning. On the Swahili coast, cities blended African and Islamic traditions: coral stone mosques, Arabic loanwords in Swahili, Indian and Chinese goods in elite homes. Ports and oases turned into magnets. Wealth came in, and schools, artisans, and scholars followed. There were cultural adaptations. Religions and ideas didn't spread, they adapted. In West Africa, Islam mixed with local customs. Rulers like Musa upheld Islamic law while sustaining African traditions. In East Asia, Buddhism engaged Confucian and Taoist thought, contributing to Neo-Confucianism. Confucian ethics were spiritual depth. On the Swahili coast, Arabic blended with Bantu to form Swahili, a living record of exchange. Chinese gunpowder evolved into European cannons, and paper and printing traveled west, helping spark Gutenberg's press. Connectivity didn't copy paste ideas, it translated them. Let's look at the environmental and biological effects of diet and farming. Crops migrated with merchants. Bananas from Southeast Asia reached Africa through Madagascar, supporting settlement in forest zones and boosting populations. Around the Mediterranean, citrus, sugarcane, and rice reshaped diets and irrigation. In China, Champa rice from Vietnam matured quickly, doubling harvests and fueling a population boom and urban growth. There was ecological strain. Prosperity had a price. Forests were cleared for rice paddies and sugar fields. Sugar quickly exhausted soils. Irrigation in dry lands led to salinization. Monocultures reduced biodiversity and increased fragility. More mouths to feed meant more pressure on land and water. There was disease. The same routes that carried silk also carried plague. The Black Death rode caravans and ships into Europe in 1347, killing perhaps a third of the population. Labor shortages empowered peasants to demand higher wages. undermining feudal bonds and shaking faith in medieval institutions. Let's take a look at key events and people from this period. 1235, Sundiata founds Mali. Sundiata controlled gold and salt routes in Mali, tying West Africa firmly into Afro-Eurasian exchange. 1258, Mongols sack Baghdad. Abbasid political power collapses, but Silk Road commerce remains stable under Mongol rule. 1324, Mansa Musa's Hajj. So much gold distributed in Cairo that prices skew for years. Mali explodes onto Islamic and European maps. 1325, Ibn Battuta departs. 75,000 miles later, his account reveals unity and diversity across the Islamic world. 1347, the Black Death reaches Europe. Demographic shock with economic and cultural aftershocks. From 1405 to 1433, Zheng He's voyages. Ming treasure fleets showcase Chinese wealth, patrol sea lanes, and collect tribute from East Africa to Arabia. 1417, Ulugh Beg's Madrasa. Samarkand, a beacon for astronomy and scholarship at the Silk Road's heart. About 1440, Marjorie Kempe's autobiography, a rare female voice of pilgrimage, faith, and travel in a connected world. Europe was a latecomer, but an eager adapter. Compass and astrolabe, sailing beyond sight of land became routine, enabling Atlantic adventures. The lateen sail, combined with square rigs, became the nimble caravel. Gunpowder merged to cannons and firearms that toppled castle walls and strengthened monarchies. Paper and printing led to faster spread of ideas, fueling the Renaissance, Reformation, and scientific revolution. Arabic numerals and algebra led to better accounting and navigation. New crops like sugar, citrus, and rice led to new tastes, new fields, and later, plantation systems in the Americas. Imported knowledge became a launchpad. By 1450, Europe was poised for transoceanic expansion. From 1200 to 1450, merchants linked distant shores and societies reshaped themselves through crops, technologies, and faiths. But growth came with strain, deforestation, salinization, soil exhaustion, and pandemics. The lesson is simple but profound. Trade is never just about goods, it's about people adapting, cultures blending, and environments bearing the weight of change. These networks laid the foundations for the next era of truly global connections and the conflicts that came with them. Until next time, stay curious, history matters.